Hey, everybody. Greetings from Philadelphia. I'm hoping you're having a fantastic weekend. And I just wanted to drop a quick note because of the resurgence of this Behringer B215XL thread and all of the interesting comments and internet activity that has surrounded Aaron's reviews of the 215XL and the 212XL. So I just have a few thoughts on it. The first being that I am really thankful that there are measurements of this speaker coming off of a Klippel near-field scanner because these are extremely useful in showing the character of the speakers. What is out there in terms of a debate is whether the flaws of the speakers are overcome by their strengths, and whether those strengths, taken in the context of their price, makes them a suitable choice for home theater. Now, one of the most amazing things that has happened recently is, as everybody knows, there's AI out there, ChatGPT, Google Bard, whatever. And with Google, what has happened is apparently this discussion about how they're not suitable for home theater has created a situation where Google's Bard lists pros, that they're inexpensive and get loud, and then under cons, it says not suitable for home theater, which is kind of amazing because, as anybody who's in this thread knows, there's a lot of people who have successfully deployed it for home theater, and that's. I think it's too bad that a thread of this size and of this age does not have, as it were, the clout to counter the judgments of those who say it's not suitable. So, just getting into why they can still be considered suitable for home theater for a minute. We know that there are significant resonances. We know that the speakers are weak in the bass department. But the real question is, are those resonances such that they overwhelm the content? And especially if you're talking about the bass region and anything underneath the Schroeder transition frequency, where the room itself starts having the primary impact on the frequency response at the listening position. And with bass frequencies, because of room interference, you can get huge fluctuations, well over 10 decibels, 20 decibels, peaks and valleys. And so yes, let's say you find this 7 decibel, leap in output, quite likely from a resonance, port resonance, whatever, in the bass region in these speakers. And as legitimate as it is, and it's a real measurement, the question is, in the context of how rooms and bass interact, is it really a red flag, like set off the alarms and dismiss everything else the speaker does? Because even from the Klippel measurements, and anybody who listens to them, sort of like the appeal of the speakers is that you're getting a nice horn with a compression driver and everything that comes with that. So, in just very recent comments, we've seen an experiment with padding and doing some measurements and seeing if you can reduce those resonances. My approach years ago was to just take the back off of the entire speaker and just sort of roll it, run it as a pseudo dipole, but with the horn, and whatever you actually do to mitigate those resonances, I'm not even sure if the difference is that huge, to be frank, for the reasons I just mentioned, which is that bass response, people kind of naturally get used to the fact that it is not like the smooth curve that you would get, let's say, if you were listening to headphones instead of running speakers in a room. So that's the excuse, as it were, for the Behringers. I would go a step further and say that if you really wanted to push these speakers, and sort of avoid some of these issues, what you would do is, use as high a crossover as you can, as well as, take attempts to dampen them. But if you don't, that they're still going to sound good enough for home theater, because of the whole context of price and capability, how much output they offer, relative to how much wattage you have to feed them, and all of that is some pretty basic physics. And you can't design a small speaker that plays low, that has a small driver, and has the sensitivity of these Behringers. And it's very difficult really to find any speaker that can provide this much output at this cost per speaker. And just as a finale here, yes, of course, room correction is by and large supposed to just correct for the room. But it doesn't really know what it's correcting for per se. And let's say you do have a notch in the bass output, it's going to try to correct for that. And whether room correction is successful completely at doing that or not, the point is that applying that kind of EQ, very specific parametric EQ, to work out those below Schroeder, below transition issues is a very valid approach. It's the approach of home theater, if not the approach of two-channel audio. And that is one of the reasons I think that they are home theater speakers, because you can actually account for the weaknesses. You can identify them. Again, awesome to have measurements to really show where the weaknesses are and what you're fighting against. And that if you put that effort in, the reward, of course, is a viable system that's very powerful at a very low cost. I think that's been shown again and again in this thread, and that it remains a valid approach. And in fact, a remarkable thing is the fact that this is a 20-year-old design, and that this is a 10-year-old thread, and that only now people are like, oh, there's better speakers from that, than these for less. But really, show me, not just how they measure at 80 decibels of output or whatever, but show me a speaker that's getting you up to a reference level output, and doing that without, sort of giving up, which is what you'll see happen to, let's say, a dome tweeter on a affordable bookshelf speaker. And, and we can go from there, because movies are not the same thing as high-end audio and two-channel world and that whole realm, where I guess you're supposed to spend huge amounts of money just to take care of tiny little things like, putting feet underneath various pieces of gear, or massaging your electricity through a $30,000 power conditioner or whatever. So yeah, we're just talking about speakers that cost less than speaker cables over in two-channel land, that's for sure. And so why kick sand in their face? That's about where I'm going to end this one.